My talk is titled The Athena Complex, Overcoming Imposter Syndrome to Live Boldly and Shine Brightly. And thank you for being here today and for staying to hear the last speaker. Several years ago, one of my honors students paid me a visit in my office on campus. She had just been recognized for an award, and she was distraught. She had come to me to reveal that she did not think she deserved the recognition because there were so many others in her class that were smarter and more deserving of the award than she was. She asked, what if they realized they made a mistake and take the award back? I assured her that she was well deserving of the award and that she would not be receiving any phone calls to ask for the award back. She seemed unconvinced, and though I told her not to worry, that she'd be fine, I felt like a fraud because I had experienced the same things in my own life that this student had just shared. Yet here I was telling her not to worry. How could I advise my student when I too struggled with similar feelings throughout my career? What my student was experiencing and what I had experienced is called imposter syndrome. In the fall of 1978, two psychologists named Dr. Pauline Clance and Dr. Suzanne Imes published an article that summarized their findings related to successful, high-achieving women who, for various reasons, felt like intellectual phonies, and they did not experience an internal sense of success, despite strong evidence to the contrary. Rather, they believed that they had obtained their level of achievements through an external force, such as luck, or even through an error of some sort, anything except their own intelligence and inherent abilities. These women were college undergraduates, graduate students, and professors and faculty from a variety of fields at a Southern university. Clance and Imes found that women who experienced imposter syndrome, or imposter phenomenon as it is also called, might also report anxiety, depression, and or frustration at being unable to attain self-imposed expectations. So, who? Me. Yes, me. Initially, Clance and Imes thought that repeated successes might lead to reduced feelings of imposterism, but alas, that was not the case. And it was not the case for the women they studied who led highly decorated careers. Now, I show you this timeline not to advertise sections of my resume, but to demonstrate the point that Clance and Imes made, which was that repeated successes are not enough to counter imposter syndrome. There must be other interventions. For instance, in 2010, when I was inducted into the College of Education Alumni Hall of Fame at Illinois State University by Dr. Deborah Curtis, dean at that time, I wondered if she had gotten me mixed up with another former student. In my mind, I had done nothing special to be in anyone's Hall of Fame. When I was nominated by my dean in the College of Professional Studies at Millikan University by Dr. Deborah Slayton for the U.S. Professor of the Year Award in 2015, I pushed back and questioned her, asking, why would you nominate me for this award? And earlier this year, when I was one of 25 scholars in the country to be selected for the Gilder Lehrman Institute of Dr. David Blight's seminar on Civil War and American Memory, I thought there had been a mistake. I was not a trained historian, so what did I have to offer? How had I fooled them into accepting me? Would I arrive on Yale's campus and be sent home because they would soon realize they had made a mistake in selecting me for that honor? These are the kinds of thoughts that might consume someone who is having an imposter experience. And unfortunately, I am not alone. According to one source, there are approximately 70% of us who have had an imposter experience. And while the 1978 work of Clance and Imes initially found that women experienced imposterism more, we now know that men also experience it. As a matter of fact, it crosses all genders, races, classes, educational backgrounds, abilities, and so on. If you want to know if you fall within this 70%, then you can visit Dr. Clance's website at the URL, which is hard to read here. I can give you that if you're interested in that, and take an inventory called the Clance IP Scale. So some of the names or labels that plague a person who is dealing with imposter syndrome are phony. You are not who you are touted by others to be. Fraud. You are getting away with success and accolades you did not earn. Charade. You are faking it, acting, putting on a show. Incompetent. You are inadequate and not intelligent enough for this award, this accomplishment, this position, etc. Undeserving. Others are more deserving or more qualified than you are. And of course, imposter, which by this point doesn't need much more explanation, and it is to me the term that encompasses all the others, but you feel as though you are the great pretender and will soon be found out. So, why me? And why have approximately 70% of you had an imposter experience at one time or another? One reason, societal messages. These messages could come from family members, close friends, society in general. You may feel that you must work harder, longer, faster, like the bionic man or woman, in order to measure up to the standards placed upon you by your family, society, and many times yourself. Fear. You might fear failure because you may think it will show you to be undeserving or incompetent. Often this means not asking for help, but rather trying to do it all yourself for fear that you will be exposed as a fraud. Again, all unfounded, plus it does not allow for the natural human process of failing and learning as an inevitable experience in all of our lives. And finally, if you were here earlier, you heard some people talk about perfectionism, having the unrealistic expectation of yourself and feeling that you are a failure if you do not do everything perfectly, which can lead to self-doubt. So you shy away from being referred to as the expert, or you feel ashamed if you don't know all of the answers, if you can't do something quickly, or if you can't do something flawlessly. Enter Athena. If you are a fan of Greek mythology and have read the Iliad and the Odyssey by Homer, then you are familiar with Athena, daughter of Zeus, Olympian, and the ancient Greek goddess of wisdom and war. Why would the ancient Greeks choose a woman to represent concepts and characteristics such as wisdom, courage, strength, strategic thinking, especially in war, adept, skill, law and justice, mathematics, as well as handicrafts such as spinning and weaving? Maybe they knew something we don't. I titled this talk, The Athena Complex. According to psychologist Carl Jung, when someone is said to have had a complex, that means they exhibit a consistent pattern of behavior informed by a set of perceptions and ingrained beliefs that permeate the unconscious, personal, and collective mind around a certain theme. For example, you have likely heard of complexes such as an inferiority complex and its close sibling, the superiority complex. Or maybe you've heard of the Oedipus complex, or hero complex, or Napoleon complex, and so on. Usually, having a complex of this sort is not viewed as a good thing. Someone with a messiah complex, for instance, always feels responsible for saving or rescuing others from situations, even when those people don't need or want to be saved. Likewise, someone with a Cinderella complex wants to be rescued and may create situations in which they have to be assisted or saved. However, I would like to introduce a new complex, the Athena complex, a complex with a positive connotation. In other words, with the Athena complex, it means that you believe you are wise, courageous, strong, strategic, skillful, and talented, and that you have earned your achievements because You are not a phony, a fraud, incompetent, undeserving, or an imposter. So, what can you do, or if you are in that 70% of us that are challenged with imposter syndrome? I can share with you some strategies that work for me. At various times, I revisit these strategies when an imposter phenomenon threatens to derail my acceptance of the successes and achievements for which I am recognized. First, re-examine your goals and expectations. I am a goal setter, but sometimes I set expectations to unrealistic standards. I will read 897 books this year. That's a slight overstatement, but I once heard that bell hooks read a book per day, and then I set that unrealistic goal for myself. When I could not meet it, I thought, what is wrong with me? Why can't I get a book completed every day? Thus, set goals and expectations that make sense for the life you currently live. Now, I am satisfied with the goal of one book each week, knowing that I am not a failure if I cannot meet this expectation every week. Number 2, take stock of your strengths and passions. Millikan University is a strengths campus, which means that we have adopted Don Clifton's strength psychology, and we ask students, staff, faculty, and administration to take the Strengths Finder inventory that Clifton invented. This inventory identifies your top 5 strengths from about 34 different themes. My top 5 in order are learner, intellection, input, context, and strategic. I won't go into detail about what each one means, but my top 5 all fall in the strategic thinking category. Maybe Athena complex there. Know and be proud of your strengths. Listen to your heart's inner passions and find ways to pursue what you enjoy and love. If you have a passion for art, for example, that does not necessarily mean quit your day job to become an artist, though it could, but find ways that make sense for your life right now to integrate art in ways that won't make you feel as though you need to be perfect or an expert. Enjoy your passion without the pressure. Thirdly, separate reality from misperception, especially about oneself. Imposter experiences do not reveal truth to us. They overinflate misperceptions we have about our ability to achieve on our own merits and intelligence. Instead, when confronted with an episode of imposterism, look for the evidence to inform your reality. When my honors student felt as though she did not deserve an award, I should have sat down with her to review the evidence. Her GPA, which was a 4.0, the thick history of campus and community service she engaged in regularly, the leadership roles she had in campus organizations, and so forth. Next, evaluate your support systems. I contend that everyone needs or can use a structure of support in their lives. To overcome imposter syndrome, seeking a mentor or mentoring someone can help. A strong mentor can help support your successes and be a conduit for reflecting your true talents and abilities that have led you to high achievement. I am glad to have my mother, many of my sorority sisters, some trusted colleagues and supervisors at the university, and several community leaders who have served as mentors for me over the years. Likewise, mentoring others allows you to work and acknowledge the talents and skills of those who look to you for guidance and support. It opens up a pathway for you to understand imposter syndrome from a different perspective, one of resistance to the way of thinking as you work with your mentee to solve problems and carve out support for the personal and professional aspirations that may carry with it feelings of inadequacy. And it is rewarding to mentor someone else and see that person's intellect and skill be realized. Fifth, have an attitude of gratitude. For November, I practiced 21 days of gratefulness in expectation of the Thanksgiving season. I also have bouts with inconsistent journal writing in which I record what I am thankful for each day. When I'm in those bouts of writing, I notice that the practice focuses my thoughts on the blessings that my achievements have been and on being thankful for the abilities, propensities, and varied interests that I have. On a more practical note, it reminds me to do, as my mom used to tell me, just say thank you. In other words, when someone says, I want to nominate you for U.S. Professor of the Year, just say thank you. When someone offers you a spot to speak for TEDx, just say, yes, thank you. And when you win a prestigious award, just say thank you. Sixth, use affirmations. Hal Elrod, author of The Miracle Morning, is responsible for me buying into the idea of affirmations. Now, Elrod did not invent this concept. For sure, there have been many other authors and motivational speakers before him that have written or spoken about the power of affirmations, but it was Elrod who, for me, made it practical and practicable as a routine in my life. Affirmations are just what the term sounds like. Statements that affirm who you are, who you authentically are. Prior to me reading Elrod's book, I always thought of affirmations as a little bit too woo-woo for me. Now I know differently, and affirmations, along with meditating on scripture that speak to my specific situation, have been critical in the challenging feelings of imposterism when they revisit me. Finally, celebrate your successes. A colleague of mine checked me recently by telling me that I rarely share my accomplishments, that they end up finding out from someone else when our offices are directly next door to each other. She is right, but it is difficult for someone who experiences imposter syndrome to share achievements in this way. I still struggle with this one for a variety of reasons, but no, I'm working on it. To conclude, I will ask those of you who are comfortable sharing in this affirmation that I created for this TED Talk to repeat after me. I am thankful for the talents, passions, and skills that I have. I will not compare myself to others. I have the capacity to do what I need to do in the here and now. I will no longer set unrealistic expectations on myself. Rather, I will openly and gratefully accept the gifts for which I am acknowledged. When or if I am challenged with imposterism, I will counter it using one or more strategies that work for me. I accept that I am not perfect. And never will be. But I will anticipate and embrace the successes that come my way. So I challenge you to conquer imposter syndrome in your own life or the life of someone close to you by living boldly and letting your light shine brightly. As this quote states, be bold enough to use your voice, brave enough to listen to your heart, and strong enough to live the life you have always imagined.